Before the sold-out concerts, before the millions of records and streams, before the global fame, Justin Bieber was simply a young boy from a small Canadian city. Justin Bieber was born in 1994 in London, Ontario, and grew up in Stratford, Ontario, with his mother, Petty Millett. From an early age, music became an important part of his life. Justin did not come from a traditional superstar background. His family did not have a major music industry network. He had no guarantee of becoming famous, but he had something else: curiosity. Justin began teaching himself how to play several instruments. He learned drums, guitar, piano, and trumpet. He practiced constantly and began developing his musical abilities at a very young age. Soon he started performing in local competitions. Justin could sing, he could play instruments, and he had a natural ability to connect with an audience. His performances attracted attention from people around him. But Justin's mother wanted more people to see his talent, so she began uploading videos of his performances to YouTube. At the time, YouTube was still relatively new. Nobody could have predicted how powerful the platform would become. The videos were simple. There were no enormous production budgets, no major record label, no international marketing campaign. Just a young Canadian teenager performing songs and sharing them online. But the internet changed everything. People began watching. Then more people watched. The videos were shared. Justin's audience started growing. And eventually one of those videos reached someone who would completely change his life. Music manager Braun discovered Justin's videos online. Braun immediately recognized something unusual. This was not simply a talented kid. Justin had charisma, he had musical ability, and most importantly, he already had an audience. That was a revolutionary advantage. Traditionally, a young artist needed to convince music executives to invest in them before they could reach a large audience. Justin's situation was different. The internet had already begun proving that people wanted to watch him. Braun contacted Justin and eventually helped bring him into the professional music industry. The teenager from Stratford suddenly found himself surrounded by opportunities that had once seemed impossible. Professional producers, music executives, recording studios, and eventually major artists. Justin's journey would soon take him to the United States. There, he met Usher, who became an important early supporter and mentor in his career. But Justin still had to prove himself. Being discovered on YouTube was only the beginning. He had to record music, perform live, build a professional team, and create songs that millions of people would want to hear. The pressure was enormous, but Justin continued moving forward. His early internet audience became the foundation of something much bigger. YouTube had given him visibility, his musical talent gave him credibility, and his personality gave people a reason to keep watching. This combination would become incredibly powerful. The music industry was changing. Artists no longer needed to depend entirely on radio stations and television networks to be discovered. A teenager with a camera, an internet connection, and enough talent could potentially reach the entire world. Justin Bieber became one of the clearest examples of this new era. A few years earlier, he had been performing in local competitions. Now major music executives were paying attention, and millions of people were discovering his voice online. The boy from Stratford had found his first global stage. It wasn't a stadium, it wasn't a television show, it was a computer screen. And that screen was about to change his life forever. YouTube lead to Braun lead to the music industry. The music industry lead to Island Records, and Island Records helped turn Justin Bieber into a global superstar. The journey was moving faster than anyone could have imagined, and the biggest business opportunity was no longer simply selling music. It was building something much more powerful, a global audience that knew the name Justin Bieber. Justin Bieber's story is not only a story about music, it is also a story about business. because once an artist builds a global audience, that audience can become an enormous economic asset. Justin As's first major source of income was his music, albums, singles, digital downloads, and eventually streaming. Every successful song could generate revenue across multiple platforms and markets, but music sales were only one part of the picture. As Justin became a global superstar, live performances became even more important. Tours, millions of fans wanted to see him perform in person. Concert tickets could generate enormous amounts of revenue, but a major world tour is also an enormous business operation. There are venues, production crews, musicians, dancers, transportation, hotels, security, marketing, equipment, and dozens of other expenses. So the amount of money generated by a tour is not the same as the artist's personal profit. Still, for a superstar with a huge global audience, touring can become one of the most important parts of the business. Then there was another powerful source of income: merchandise. Fans wanted more than music, they wanted clothing, posters, accessories, collectibles, and products connected to Justin As's identity. This transformed the artist from a musician into a consumer brand. The name Justin Bieber itself had commercial value, and that opened the door to another major business category: brand partnerships. Companies wanted to associate themselves with Justin As's enormous audience. That could lead to advertising campaigns, endorsement deals, product collaborations, and long-term partnerships. For brands, Justin offered something extremely valuable: attention. Millions of fans followed him online, millions listened to his music, millions watched his videos, and millions were interested in his lifestyle and career. That made his image commercially powerful. Social media became another important part of the system. Instagram, YouTube, other digital platforms, every post could reach millions of people. Every new song could be promoted directly to fans, and every new project could spread globally without relying entirely on traditional media. This created a direct connection between Justin and his audience. That connection was incredibly valuable, but the business went beyond advertising. Justin As's name and image could also be licensed. Companies could use his brand in approved products and collaborations. This meant the artist could potentially earn money from commercial activity without personally creating every product. It was another example of the power of intellectual property. The music industry itself was also changing. In the past, artists depended heavily on physical albums. Today, a song can generate value through streaming for years. A successful track can be played millions or even billions of times, and a large catalog can continue generating revenue long after its original release. For Justin Bieber, a growing catalog of music became an important long-term asset. But there was another side to building a fortune: investments and business partnerships. As successful artists become wealthier, they can use their capital and business relationships to participate in other ventures. Investments can provide opportunities outside music. Business partnerships can create additional sources of income. And a strong personal brand can make it easier to enter new markets. This is how the economics of modern celebrity work. An artist begins with talent. Talent creates attention. Attention creates an audience. The audience creates demand. And demand creates business opportunities. The artist can then monetize that attention through multiple channels: music, streaming, tours, tickets, merchandise, advertising, sponsorships, licensing, social media, investments, and partnerships. The important point is that these revenue streams are connected. A new song can increase streaming. Streaming can increase the audience. A larger audience can increase demand for concert tickets. Concerts can increase merchandise sales. A successful tour can increase the artist's value to sponsors. And major brand partnerships can increase global visibility. The entire ecosystem can reinforce itself. This is why the biggest modern musicians can build businesses worth far more than their music sales alone. They are not simply selling songs, they are building global brands. But there is an important distinction between revenue and personal wealth. When headlines say that an artist generated tens of millions of dollars, that does not mean the artist personally kept all of it. Managers, record labels, promoters, production companies, employees, taxes, agents, and other business expenses can take significant portions of the revenue. A celebrity's net worth is also different from annual income. Net worth represents the estimated value of assets minus liabilities. So the financial story of Justin Bieber is much more complicated than simply counting how many songs he sold. The bigger story is the value of the ecosystem surrounding his name. Music created the foundation, the audience created the leverage, and the brand created opportunities far beyond music. Justin Bieber's career demonstrates a fundamental principle of the modern entertainment economy. Popularity can become an economic asset. But turning popularity into lasting wealth requires more than fame. It requires business strategy, strong partnerships, careful management, intellectual property, diversification, and the ability to keep an audience interested for years. Justin's journey from YouTube performer to global superstar showed exactly how powerful that model could become. The boy who once uploaded simple performances online had transformed his talent and audience into a global entertainment business. And the financial story was only beginning. Justin Bieber's teenage success could have been a short-lived phenomenon. Many young stars become famous and then disappear. Justin took a different path. He continued developing his music, his image, and his business. One of the biggest turning points came with Purpose, released in 2015. The album marked a major evolution in Justin's career. He was no longer simply the teenage singer from his early YouTube videos. His sound had matured, his audience had grown with him, and his commercial influence had become global. Songs such as Sorry, Love Yourself, and What Do You Mean became international hits. Streaming platforms transformed the economics of his music. Instead of depending only on physical album sales, Justin's songs could generate revenue every time listeners played them. Millions of streams could become hundreds of millions, and eventually billions. The global audience that Justin had built as a teenager continued following him into adulthood. Then came another major chapter: tours. Justin's concerts became huge international productions. Fans traveled across countries to see him perform. Tickets generated significant revenue, but the tours also strengthened his brand. Every stadium, every photograph, every social media post, every sold-out performance reinforced the value of the Justin Bieber name. His career was becoming a global entertainment business. Then came changes in 2020. The album showed another side of Justin's musical identity and demonstrated that he could continue evolving as an artist. And in 2021 he released Justice. The album produced more major songs and continued his presence at the top of global streaming platforms. At this point, Justin Bieber had something extremely valuable: a huge music catalog, a worldwide fan base, and a personal brand recognized almost everywhere. That brand created opportunities far beyond music. Major companies wanted to work with him. Brand partnerships allowed businesses to connect with his enormous audience. Advertising campaigns could reach millions of fans. Collaborations could combine his identity with products, fashion, technology, and entertainment. Merchandise became another part of the business. The Justin Bieber name could appear on clothing, accessories, collectibles, and other products. For fans, these products were part of the culture surrounding the artist. For the business, they represented another way to monetize the brand. Social media made the system even more powerful. Justin could communicate directly with millions of followers. He did not need to wait for a television interview to reach his audience. He could announce a song, promote a tour, share a project, or collaborate with a company and reach millions of people almost instantly. That direct connection became one of the most valuable assets of modern celebrity businesses. But Justin's career also expanded into new commercial projects. As his wealth and influence grew, he became involved in business partnerships and investment opportunities. The exact value of private investments can be difficult to determine, but the strategy was clear: do not depend entirely on one source of income. Music can generate revenue, tours can generate revenue, merchandise can generate revenue, brand partnerships can generate revenue, and investments can potentially create additional long-term value. This is how the Justin Bieber brand evolved. The music was the foundation, the audience was the engine, the personal brand was the platform, and business partnerships expanded the possibilities. The transformation was remarkable. Justin had started as a teenager uploading performances online. Now his name could generate value across music, entertainment, advertising, merchandise, and business. But building an empire at this scale is not simple. A global celebrity brand requires teams of managers, lawyers, agents, marketers, producers, and business partners. Every major project involves contracts. It began in a small Canadian city: a young teenager, a few musical instruments, a camera, and a YouTube account. Justin Bieber did not begin his career as a global superstar. He was not born into the center of the music industry. He did not have a guaranteed path to fame. Instead, he uploaded videos of himself performing songs online. And those simple videos changed everything. Before YouTube, young artists often needed to be discovered by record executives, television producers, radio stations, or talent scouts. The traditional system had powerful gatekeepers. If they said no, an unknown artist could remain unknown. But the internet created a new possibility. An artist could go directly to an audience. Justin Bieber became one of the clearest examples of this transformation. His videos attracted viewers. Those viewers created attention. That attention attracted music professionals, and eventually that attention helped launch a global career. The path was completely different from the traditional route. Justin's first major stage was not a massive concert hall. It was YouTube. His first audience was not created by a global advertising campaign. It was created by people clicking on videos. And his first major supporters were not necessarily traditional industry executives. They were viewers who wanted to watch him perform. This was revolutionary because it demonstrated something that would become increasingly important in the digital economy: the audience can come before the business. Justin's story also showed the power of social media. As his career developed, fans could follow him directly. They could watch his videos, share his songs, discuss his performances, follow his life, and communicate with other fans. The internet turned fans into an active community. The term "believers" became more than a nickname. It represented a massive fan culture surrounding the artist. That community helped Justin's music spread around the world. And this created a new model for young musicians. Instead of waiting to be discovered, artists could begin building an audience themselves. Instead of waiting for a record label, they could release content online. Instead of depending entirely on traditional media, they could communicate directly with fans. Justin Bieber's career helped demonstrate the potential of this model. Of course, talent still mattered. YouTube alone could not create a decades-long career. Justin needed musical ability, professional management, songwriters, producers, record labels, touring teams, and the ability to evolve as he grew older. His career also included challenges. Global fame arrived when he was still very young. Millions of people were watching his every move. Growing up under that level of attention was difficult. There were personal struggles, public controversies, career pressure, and enormous expectations. But Justin continued developing. His music changed, his audience changed, and his identity as an artist matured. Albums such as Purpose, Changes, and Justice demonstrated that he could evolve beyond the teenage image that first made him famous. This evolution was critical. A teenage star can become famous quickly, but staying relevant for years is much harder. Justin managed to transform his early popularity into a long-term global career, and that is one of the most important parts of his legacy. His story also influenced the way the music industry thinks about discovery. Today, young musicians can build audiences on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, streaming platforms, and other digital services. A bedroom can become a recording studio, a smartphone can become a production tool, and a social media account can become the beginning of a global career. The barriers are lower than they were before, but the competition is also enormous. Millions of people can upload music, millions can create videos, millions can try to become the next superstar. That makes Justin's early breakthrough even more significant.